Hello, everyone. My name's James. Welcome to our second Planet FPL clash of the correspondence of the week. Not quite so much FPL chat on this one as there was yesterday, but there certainly will be some. Although I think league table issues are more pressing for both. Let me introduce you to our Leicester City correspondent, Aaron Lagor. How are you, Aaron?
Yeah, good mate. Thank you.
For the benefit of the audio listeners, Aaron really just forced out a smile there. And let me introduce you to our Liverpool correspondent, Dan Lord. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks, James.
Good stuff, mate. Aaron, I want to backtrack a little bit with you. When we last spoke, you were very keen on Rodgers to go. He eventually did go. And I know you felt quite positive about that at the time. Do you still reflect on that and feel the same that he had to go?
Yeah, he did have to go, in my mind, but I mean, he should have gone months before that. And I feel as if they got to a point with it where they backed him so far. It probably, well, it, whatever transpires in these next three games will tell us whether it was the right decision or not. But speaking to you right now at this moment in time, it looks like they should have probably just stuck with him, um, and you know, um, got to the end of the season and see where we're at because it felt as if they wanted to stay loyal to him this whole time and give him the chance. Um, I it's such a difficult one. I mean, I think it looks like they got rid of him on the back of a bad result at Palace when they could have got rid of him even a week or so before that and given the manager a little bit of time in the squad in the international break. But it just, yeah, it's been car crash from start to finish
It
really. But
felt like such a fine margins moment in the sense that obviously that defeat at Palace made it so it was five defeats in six. You'd only had the draw at Brentford, and I think since the World Cup there'd only been the two wins, hadn't there? Which was the bizarre, brilliant two-game spell you had against Villa and Tottenham where you scored eight. It had been looking woeful for a while, but it felt to me that if Mateta hadn't scored that late goal, he'd have stayed in charge. You've then got Villa at home and Bournemouth at home. You didn't get anything out of it anyway. It almost feels like even for that week, you've come this far. Exactly what you said. It should have got done in the international break, shouldn't it?
yeah. I mean, obviously, I've spoken about the fact that it should have been done months before that. But yeah, you get far with it, and what chance is the manager coming in at this late period? I mean, obviously I think they just kept going on and on and on, thinking, oh, we'll be okay, we'll be okay, we'll get enough wins, and the games have just slowly disintegrated, and the games that we were looking at, getting that no manager bounce or whatever in those two home games, and it was just disastrous, wasn't it? It was Rodgers 2.0 really with the guy that was in charge. He didn't particularly change anything. And yeah, that was lost a couple of games there. So it's been. I mean, it clearly wasn't a plan to sack him because they went to try and appoint Potter, didn't they? Which was that was never going to happen. Delusional, really. And then Jesse Marsh, which then collapsed. So it just felt as if it was just panic mode. In the end, we probably ended up with maybe the setup that we needed at that point. But I think it's probably a bit too late, and it's looking likely that the games are going to run out, and it's going to be curtains for us, unfortunately.
I can't believe you waited for me after you beat us 4-1. You didn't, Aaron didn't actually wait for us, but it felt like Aaron was waiting for me. Having just beat my team 4-1 in game week 23. And we had this discussion about your league position was false. You went up to 13th that day. And we looked at the firepower, having just scored eight against Villa and Tottenham. It's like this team's got way too much firepower to end up in trouble. But the goals have dried up since then. Just having a look through now, you've scored one, two, three, four, five, seven, eight, 10, with it discount the shambles at Fulham on Monday since then. 13 goals since then in basically a similar amount of games. So the goals have dried up on top of you never stop conceding them.
No, no. This problem of conceding goals has been going back to middle to back end of last season, wasn't it? and they've not managed to sort that out. We started the season, we didn't bring anyone in, but the squad looked good, and then we lost Michael and Fofana early on, and Evans has obviously never been fit all season. Then we got a bad injury to Justin, and it just all fell apart at the back there. And if you've not got that stable base, then you're in serious trouble. If you can't be going through the season having to score 2 goals to win a game, and now we're having to score 3+ goals to even get a point. So yeah, it's been dreadful, really dreadful.
Dan, Brendan Rodgers was obviously your manager and very nearly won the title with you. How is he reflected upon by Liverpool fans?
I don't know as a kind of in general. For me personally, nothing. I don't really feel anything for Rodgers either way. He was all right. He was not somebody I took to very well as a Liverpool manager. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he was just all right.
Did it feel more like in hindsight it was just those front forward players, obviously particularly featuring Luis Suarez, that what took you so close rather than him?
Yeah, I would say so. I think Suarez and Sturridge were unreal, and then Coutinho mixed in with that. It was a mix, wasn't it?
He'll be back though, won't he? He'll get another Premier League job.
Yeah, almost definitely. He's not got a bad record until recently. He had a good record at Liverpool and obviously Leicester until recent times.
Yeah, it's important to say, isn't it, Aaron? We spoke about that last time he was on, about like not forgetting that he so nearly got you in the Champions League twice and won you an FA Cup as well. Like, it's not reflected on completely badly, is it?
No, and I think hindsight's a beautiful thing, but I think if he'd have walked away at the end of last season, then it would have looked like a really successful spell. And I mean, the warning signs were there towards the end of last season. There was the European run in the Conference League that kind of papered over a lot of the cracks towards the end of the season. So, I mean, if the board, obviously, it looks like they didn't particularly want to spend any more money, which was, I don't think they particularly had it to spend. So it was always going to be difficult for Rodgers. And if he's coming out saying, we need to rebuild the squad, then they should have said to him, well, if you're not prepared to work with what you've got, then move out the door. But again, I think we'd put ourselves into a position, backed ourselves into a corner where we'd given him this really long contract, and it was going to be too expensive to get rid of him. So I think they just thought, we'll try and just get through this season by hook or by crook, stay in the league, have a bit of a middling season, and then build again next season. But it's gone, drastically wrong, to the point where Rodgers just didn't know what he was doing. It wasn't in it for the fight, and was too busy to blame everybody else other than himself. So yeah, it's really quite damaging, really, and it could be really catastrophic, really financially for us. So,
is it if you go down?
Well, I mean, the owners have obviously taken a massive hit on their own business. The turnover just absolutely dropped off a cliff because of the line of work that they're in, duty free and stuff with COVID. So that's cost the owners a lot of money. Now they're obviously still very much involved with the club, and hopefully they will be moving forward. But it's going to be difficult because it's a big squad to get rid of. There's a lot of deadwood there that we need to get rid of on big wages and stuff. And it's not an easy job for anybody coming in, whether in either division that we're in, really. So if we do go down, it could be difficult. It could be difficult to get back, yeah.
I think the instinct of most people of the if we write off Southampton at the moment, the 4 other teams, yourselves, Leeds, Everton, Forest, feels like you would come straight back. Would be my instinct, Aaron.
Yeah, well, you're more confident than I am.
It might even be a little bit of a reset period. I think there's assets there that would clearly be sellable, like James Maddison, for example, who obviously wouldn't play for you in the Championship, that would help stabilise that. And I think you'd come back and go back on a path of investing probably in players from lower leagues we were younger and hungry and restart it. They obviously bought a goalkeeper, to be fair, as well. Are you happy with Dean Smith? I'm not saying you want him to go, but are you happy with Dean Smith?
I was a little bit underwhelmed, I think, when he got the job. I think all things considered, it probably made sense. And I was in contact with a few Villa fans and said, "Oh, he'll keep you up," and it was all quite positive, and I wasn't quite so. But I think he'll be here to the end of the season, and then probably be moved on for somebody else. It seems anyway. I might be wrong, but that seems like the agreement in place.
Dan, I asked you in the past if you wanted Everton to go down, and you ruthlessly said yes. So I presume you'll be turning over and rolling over for Leicester Monday night, will you?
I don't think we want him to go down that badly. We'd rather finish 17th.
How do you see it? How do you see that at the bottom, Dan? Do you think, like, for example, Everton will stay up now?
It's a nice result, isn't it, to get a bit of momentum from, and it wasn't just anybody. It was Brighton they battered as well, but you fear for Aaron's Leicester and Leeds, really. I think they're the two that look like they can't buy a win at the moment, whereas the others seem to be a little, have a little bit something more. I don't know. It's still quite tight, isn't it? And anything could happen. But the games are running out and the fixtures are not looking great.
How many points do you think you need, Aaron?
I feel as if we need 2 wins out of these last 3 games, to be honest.
Do you think if you get that, it would be enough?
Even then, I think it'd be close because, you look at Forest fixtures, there are games there that they can win. So it's going to be difficult, and they've got a little bit of momentum now as well, haven't they? That's a good win the other night, and again with Everton. I mean, when did they ever score 5 goals? And that's going to give them massive confidence.
They don't normally get 5 goals a month, to be fair.
So. Exactly. I think that's the most damaging thing. Is obviously our result was horrendous anyway. Regardless of what happened later on in the day. I mean, that's just kind of like 2 more nails in the coffin there, isn't it? So I feel like we have to get a win against Liverpool, and I just can't see it. And then
is it at that stage you think you've got to win Monday?
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because I can't see us getting anything at Newcastle, and if we're then leaving it to West Ham, it might be done by then anyway. So,
Dan, can you be beaten Monday night? You're on a great winning run.
Yes, I don't think we're still particularly playing very well. But that being said, I don't know if it's out of coincidence or whatever, but I've seen both of Leicester's last 2 matches. I think that they've both been on Sky or something, or televised. Maybe that's why I've seen them both. And they don't look great, to be honest. They just look like they can concede at every kind of attack. And although we look a bit leaky, we do look like we're going to score goals. So I can't really see Leicester getting anything really on Monday.
Oh, okay, let's talk about the top end of the table then. Danny, you are obviously putting the pressure on. It's 1 point as the old Tottenham putting the pressure on. You're 1 point behind Manchester United, 3 behind Newcastle. You have played a game more. Is it on to finish top 4?
I still say the same as what I did a couple of weeks ago before the Forest game. We could potentially win these last 3. I still don't think it'll be enough. I don't think the others will slip up enough. I didn't expect United to slip up with West Ham, but they got a couple of home games, and United are a bit like Liverpool at home. No matter how bad they play, and they generally seem to get the job done. And Newcastle, I don't think. No, I can't see it. I think we'll still finish 5th, but I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. And if we do get 4th at the expense of United, that'd be a good season in my eyes.
in hindsight, considering where you were, I don't think you'd have taken that in pre-season, mate.
No,
Aaron, how do you see that as a neutral? Can Liverpool still do it, do you think? They won 62, United 63, played a game less, Newcastle 65, played a game less. It's not going to be anyone else. Tottenham and Brighton are certainly out of the running.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool have done the right thing in just kind of, winning games and just seeing how it all plays out. I think it was always, a few weeks ago, it was looking very bleak for them. But they've managed to string some good results together. Like Dan says, they've not been playing particularly great, but it doesn't really matter as long as you're getting points on the board. Yeah, I think it's on for them. Obviously, they've got to hope that someone else does them a favour, but if they win their remaining games, which they're quite capable of, then they could sneak in the back door. Yeah, it would be a good turn of events, I think.
6 wins in a row, Dan.
Mm.
The last 5 all by 1 goal, and the last 2 1-0. We've obviously very recently had this change for Trent going into midfield, which we spoke to you about a couple of weeks ago prior to you playing Forest. This is sticking now, isn't it? It's clear.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I don't think there's any plans to change it. There was a press conference where I think Klopp had alluded to it and said something about it's been in the back of his mind, and because of the way the season's played out, he thought, why not try it now instead of try it, pre-season and start of the season. So almost like there's nothing to lose really now, and give it a whirl. So I think, yeah, I can see it here to stay, and it changes the kind of recruitment then a little bit, because do we need all these midfielders we said we needed before? And if we make this, is it actually the priority in other positions then?
6 wins and a draw since you changed it. The draw being obviously the Arsenal game.
Yeah. Well, that's where it changed, really, isn't it? It's like something clicked in that match. I was there at Anfield that day, and yeah, since then we've put the run together. We were 2-0 down, weren't we? So literally, yeah, since then we beat Arsenal 2-0 in the second half, and the rest.
Any consideration, Dan, to captain Mo Salah this week?
It's always hard when you've got doubles, isn't it? You always think, the upside of captaining someone with 2 fixtures is always better. We could potentially get a few goals the way I've seen Leicester recently. They do look leaky. They look like the defence has no protection. There's look like a big gap between them. I think how we missed Fabinho, I think Leicester have missed Ndidi. I think he's kind of disappeared off the face of the earth a little bit like Fabinho did. And I always say that the CDM in the Premier League is such an important role. And if that's not working, then your defence is left wide open. And the teams that predominantly do well have great CDMs, don't they? Rodri, if you think of United this year, Casemiro's been good. Partey, even Jorginho's done a good job last couple of games. So I think it's really important. And yeah, I just don't think they can keep it tight enough.
Have you considered that, Aaron?
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
No, seriously.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I think that it could be a lot of goals in it for Liverpool, and it could be a bit of a bloodbath. So I'm very tempted. I mean, I guess in this game you always kind of want to play the odds, don't you? 2 games, Isak or Wilson, or a Brighton midfielder. It just gives you 2 bites of the cherry, doesn't it? And I think if you do go on Salah and he blanks, it feels like, and one of the others goes off, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, doesn't it? I think. But he's a good shout this week.
Do you think, obviously you got 6 at Leeds, Dan. If Newcastle's first game wasn't Leeds, and admittedly they've changed manager as well, do you think we would be talking about this more as a serious option, considering there has to be a little bit of doubt about Haaland's minutes this week with a single as well, away to Everton, obviously the Real Madrid second leg 3 days later. Brighton have got Arsenal and Newcastle away. It's not better than Liverpool going to Leicester, is it?
No, not on paper. It's just two fixtures. It's the draw, isn't it? It's the pull of the two fixtures. The second chance. If it doesn't happen in the first game, it can happen maybe in the second. I think Salah's a decent shout. Like I say, the way they've been looking, Leicester. I don't know. I mean, I don't own him. I stupidly, I got bored of kind of playing around the 100,000 mark. I was like 140,000, 160, 140. So I thought I'll do something different away to what everybody else has done. And now I'm 340,000. So not like, well.
It's a perfect summary, isn't it? I love that. We never factor that in. It's like, oh, I want to do something different. Yeah, but actually,
Well, I
if
was
you
like,
do, you get punished. Most of the time, you get
if I
punished.
copied everybody
Unfortunately.
else, I'd finish 140,000 just like I was. So I was like, the only way I can get up the ranks is go against Salah and go against who else? Trent and the others.
You
And
not got Trent either.
no,
What was your score last week? I think they're the only two players who
29,
returned for me.
29. So I'm having a nightmare. So I don't even have Salah to captain. But
I love it, mate.
This game's brutal, isn't it? When you try and do something different, it just bites you in the arse.
It
yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
always. It doesn't. Look at
No,
Jamie
not
Pickett, who
always,
won it
but
last year. Who really went different towards the end, and he ended up winning the thing, right? And it's the only way he would have done it was by
yeah.
doing different things. So no, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's funny, Dan, and I know you're not that bothered.
I'm not that bad. I wasn't in the running to win any mini leagues or anything like that. So I was just like, I may as well have a go, and it didn't work out. I brought De Bruyne and Jota in. I think they played like 10 minutes between them over the double fixtures or something like that. So wherever everyone else had Salah and whoever else it was, I don't know.
Are you going to correct this with Salah and Trent, or are you just going to stick it out now?
I'd love to get Trent, but I don't think I can. I've got Solly March, who's probably injured for a while now. It looked like it was a hamstring, didn't it? So I don't know. I might go Salah, but I don't know if I can get him in if I by losing March. I don't know, unless I took Haaland out. But he
We'll take
doesn't.
De Bruyne out.
Yeah, but yeah, potentially. I don't know. There's nothing to play for now anyway, so I may as well continue on this differential route and
No,
see
no,
what
no,
it
no,
is.
that's fine. So, who have you? I mean, just Jota you got from Liverpool. Is there anything else?
No Gakpo and Kanate.
Love it, mate. Love it. So yeah, so you're not going with Salah and Trent now. You've got your Liverpool free. It's not your priority to move that on. I'm gonna guess Aaron probably does have Mo Salah
Yeah, and Trent.
and Trent. Are you going to start Trent this week, Aaron? I know you start Salah.
Absolutely. I'm going to start him. Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you remember that? Was it Boxing Day game when he got
Yeah,
24
the
points?
24 point, wasn't it? The goal and the 3 assists and clean
Yeah.
sheet in that 4-0. I swear you were like third at the time as well, Aaron.
Yeah, we were flying.
He's due a haul. Is Trent, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, it'd be a difficult one to leave out this week. I'm in a position where I'm going to play him.
Yeah, I think he's the one single game week defender I would not want to leave out this week, even though I'm not certain there'll be a clean sheet. I think you'll probably score as well, Aaron, but it's the offensive stuff.
Yeah.
Would you definitely pick him, Dan, over Estupinan and Botmans with doubles? As we said about the double allure, that goes the other way, right?
Yeah, I don't know who or what, but there's no way that I would be leaving Trent on the bench if I owned him. Like I say, I think he's due a haul, and I agree with you. I think we'll probably concede against Leicester, but it's just he's due a goal. He's due, yeah. I think he's due a big score.
Yeah, he's obviously had this run of assists, which ended very recently. He'd returned 6 assists in 5. Hasn't returned an attack and returned the last 2, but back-to-back 7 pointers with the 2 clean sheets, and there certainly have been chances created in both of those games. I think like the chance he created for Nunes against Brentford on Saturday, for example. You definitely start him, Aaron, yeah?
What, Trent?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What have you got Newcastle Brighton defensively?
I've got Shaw and Trippier.
You've not got Brighton defensive.
I've got Steele.
Okay, so it probably becomes quite a straightforward choice for yourself
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I should imagine.
Yeah.
Dan, you spoke up about Konate. Is that a budget option that people should seriously be considering at the moment? He's playing every game now, isn't he, at 4.8?
No, it was just me chasing the upside, really. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else. He is the cheapest way to get into the defence, and I don't see him coming out, really, although Matip may get a start again before the end of the season, and it will probably be at his expense, depending how results go. But no, if you go in defence, you're going Trent, aren't you, and nobody else. Yes, he costs more money. If it's a budget thing, you can have a gamble, I suppose, but...
Okay. We've obviously pretty much in agreement that you'll probably score on Monday night. I know you've got what you've got and you're not going to change it. But if I said to you, right, brand new, take a punt on one of these attacking players, Gakpo, Jota, Diaz, Nunes, let's just remove Salah for the moment. If you wanted to punt one of them for the last three as a differential, where do you think you'd go at this moment?
I think minutes will be spread with all of them, which is a difficult to give advice. I'd like to... I don't think Nunes will get as many starts as the others, or as many minutes, maybe, simply because I don't think off the ball he's as good as the others. And this is kind of where this change has come from a little bit. It's to get that press back from a higher position, and actually off the ball, Gakpo and Jota are much better at it than he is. They're good without the ball as well as they are with the ball. I'd have a punt on Diaz, I think, or any of the other three, just not Nunes. I would say any of the other three. I like Gakpo. I've talked him up in the last pod we did. I think he's good. And I had him playing centre midfield last week, so that didn't work too well. Jota, I didn't. Yeah, it was almost as if he wasn't going to play, so I stuck him on the bench, and then he started. So I don't know.
Can you see Gakpo continuing in that role?
No, I don't think I can. I think they did it to just get him on the pitch from a bit of an height perspective as well, because Brentford are very good at set pieces. It was a little more physicality and height, I suppose. I don't think it's something they'd want to do long term, although I muted it early in the season when he first signed. I was thinking, I wonder if he could be that midfielder that we've been looking for to actually turn on the ball, because he's very good on the ball. He receives it very well. He turns with it very well, but he's an attacking player. Let's face it. He is. He's more of a 10 or a left winger.
With that in mind, Aaron, might sound silly, but if I said now punt for the rest of the season, say someone's got this March problem and they don't want to go to Brighton, Newcastle, perhaps they've got a different solution, want to punt someone who's got singles for the rest of the season. Maddison, Barnes, Gakpo, Diaz. Where does your money go, Aaron?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I don't think I'd be picking any Leicester players now, to be honest. But maybe that's just how I'm feeling about us. But
no, I get that. But they've both had a good return Monday, haven't they, Maddison and Barnes?
Maddison and Barnes. If we're going to get any goals, they'll be involved, won't they? So, yeah.
I'd tell you what I'd say, and I completely get that no one would probably want to go and look at Leicester player right now. But it feels clear to me that the only way you're going to get out of this is by outscoring the opposition. You're going to have to score goals, aren't you? And I wouldn't be surprised if you scored 5 or 6 over the next 3 games and it still wasn't enough. But for the FPL managers, Maddison, Barnes, I think Maddison's 7.9, Barnes 6.6. I think they could be considered. I'd probably rather buy one of them right now than a Liverpool player who I thought probably wouldn't start 3 games.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it looks like with Maddison scoring that penalty now, he might be on pens as well. So you want to pay the extra. But yeah, the game was dead, no pressure on it. And the one that he needed to score, he didn't, did he? So
you think, ironically, it was this time last week, it was why is he taking the penalty against Everton? So now he might be back on them anyway because Vardy obviously didn't score either.
Doesn't that sum it up though? You know what? You've got someone like Vardy who's taken a lot of penalties in his time with us, and got a good record as well. And Tielemans as well, and Maddison steps up in a big moment like that, and just
I can't understand. Can you fathom why Vardy wouldn't have
no,
taken that penalty against Everton?
I do not understand it. Do not understand it. When you've got someone like, I think Maddison's only ever taken one penalty for us, and he missed it. So it beggars belief, really, why. I mean, Tielemans had it in his hands, didn't he? And I was watching the game, saw Tielemans had it, and felt quite comfortable with that, and then looked away, and Maddison's there, and I was like, what's going on? I
They're all doing
think
that now with the kidology, and
they are.
they
I
even do it
know.
with Liverpool. Even though everyone knows Salah's going to take it, he's still like, "Oh, someone else is going to hold the ball. Trent's going to hold the
Yeah,
ball just in case, just to make you think about it." They're all
bit
at it,
silly,
aren't
isn't it?
they?
Really? Yeah, yeah. But no, I don't like generally when he picked the ball up, I thought that's fine. Like Tielemans will take it, and he'll probably score. I felt quite confident about that. But then when I saw Maddison on it, God, my heart sank, and rightly so. Yeah, very
Returned
bad.
in the last three, goal and 3 assists from James Maddison in the last 3 games.
Yeah. Oh.
Aaron is firmly saying no. I'm not going to ask you about investing in Leicester defensive players. Are you happier with Are you happier with Daniel Weaverson in goal?
Happy, yeah, but still not happy. I mean, he's been better, hasn't he? I mean, in some of the games, he's kept us in it with some of his saves. I mean, against Everton,
It's great.
it could have been 4-0 up in 20 minutes. It was ridiculous. And yeah, he's a good shot stopper, but I mean, the goal at the weekend, it's a bad one, isn't it? It's a really really bad one. On Monday, sorry, it was a really bad one. You know that can happen to many keepers, but not in a big moment like that. But you know he's come in and he's done his best as he can. But that's another thing. Going back to Rodgers, he stuck with Ward for so long, didn't he? I remember the pre-season pod I came on, and Sudge asked me, I think, how do you feel about Danny Ward? And I just said, if he's our number one goalkeeper at the start of the season, I would be concerned. And it's played out exactly like that. And I mean, even Rodgers had to sort of come down off that hill he wanted to die on with Ward, didn't he, in the
Eventually, yeah.
end? Yeah, yeah. So it was just that whole decision behind Ward getting the spot is just pure arrogance from Rodgers, in my opinion.
You'll know I was quite critical of Kasper Schmeichel quite a lot last year, but I cannot believe, even if he'd stayed and been your goalkeeper all year, I cannot believe that it would have been this bad. I don't
No,
think you'd be in this league position. Is that fair?
absolutely fair. Yeah, because it's not just. I mean, obviously Schmeichel had his faults, and we obviously probably highlighted a lot of those on some of the pods. But it's everything else he brought to the team, everything in terms of leadership.
Leadership.
Yeah, just a voice on the pitch. I mean, he never shuts up, does he? You knew that in COVID time, you could hear him. He just never shuts up. Just needs that, and just that presence around the dressing room. He demands like a certain standard, and you know what? He might not be well liked with some of the players, but they know that he won't let the standards drop, and he's been very complacent from us this season. We've just been going through the motions a lot of it, and it's been hard to watch because it's just felt like you're paralysed to the situation a little bit because you know that it's broken, but no one seems to want to fix it. So
Yeah, I reflect on the period before the World Cup where you had all these clean sheets. I think you had 5 in 6 and 6 in 8, I want to say. I think one of the goals you did concede was a Kevin De Bruyne worldie. And I think the club decided at that point that it was sorted and they didn't need to do anything in January. I mean, you could have took Dan's number 2 as a perfect example, Kelleher, who's getting interest from a lot of clubs, and that would have solved the problem. It probably would have been a story that probably worked for both clubs. I'm going to guess. I don't know if Liverpool would have let him go, but maybe they would have let him go for the experience. I think it was a massive error not to improve that situation in goal in the January window. What have you made of Kaglas Yinshu's return, Aaron?
yeah, strange one. Obviously, completely out in the cold under Rodgers, and he's obviously signed for Atletico Madrid, I think, isn't it? He's off in the summer.
That seems to be the rumour, yeah.
Yeah, and he's kind of been forced out of the club, and a lot of that is down to Rodgers. So he's not been, he's clearly come in and done pretty well in the short space of time, but we're still conceding goals, aren't we? But it's not solely on him. That's a bad error again from Rodgers. Just completely discarding a player that had a lot to give, really. And again, he's a leader on the pitch. He'll get amongst it. He'll you know he'll rustle through feathers and stuff, and we've just not had that. We've not had that. Um, so yeah, he's done well since he's come back, but it's just too little, too late, I think.
Of leadership, you'd have been better off having Johnny Evans most of this season, wouldn't you? From that
Oh
perspective as well, mate.
God, he's been a massive miss. He really has. Not just his leadership, but just his organisation at the back there. Um, he's been a massive, massive loss for us. And when you then lose for foreign at the start of the season, that looks really weak, doesn't it, at the back? So yeah, it's ever since the start of the season, it's all just sort of unravelled really badly, hasn't it? So
Yes, unfortunately. But I was
yeah,
just looking very interestingly, actually. Timothy Castagne hasn't. I think it's about 8 points less FPL points than Andy Robertson. You haven't kept a clean sheet, Aaron, since before the World Cup. Although I should point out that the last team to actually fail to score against Leicester in a Premier League game was Liverpool, because Wout Faes scored twice, Aaron.
yeah,
And ironically, you played quite well that night.
yeah.
There
We
was
did.
no sign that you'd had them good results during the World Cup. You gave them problems. You shouldn't have gone in behind. You did because of two car crash individual moments. How do you
Yeah.
feel about him now? Now that he's been in the team for the best part of 6 months or so.
I think he's okay. He's a steady defender. I don't think he's particularly amazing. He does he does some rash things at times. He goes wandering a little bit. I don't think it's helped with the goalkeeper situation. Has been unsettled. His partner alongside him has been unsettled. So I don't. It's been difficult for him. It's his first season in the league as well, and he got up to speed pretty quickly actually. And when we had the likes of Justin and stuff available, he was looking okay. I remember doing a pod with you, and he'd made a real difference at that point. But since then, it's all ever since we come back from the World Cup, it's been disastrous, really. Yeah,
Yeah, to go that period with not a single clean sheet uh, is quite remarkable, actually. Dan,
yeah.
if Leicester did go down, would you have interest in any of their players, do you think?
Will Liverpool have interest? I very much doubt it. Do I think there's some good play? Obviously, Maddison comes without saying. He's on his day. He's as good as any kind of number 10 around, isn't he, in the Premier League? His creativity is second to none, and he just annoys me a little bit how he goes to the ground too easy. That's the only thing I don't like about Maddison. So Yunshu, like you mentioned, the first season he came in when you got rid of Maguire, I just thought, God, what a player this guy is. And
Yeah.
then they brought Fofana in. It was like, Jesus, where are they getting all these centre backs from? He just kind of disappeared, didn't he? Boynes is decent. Daka, Liverpool looked at Daka a lot by all accounts before Leicester snapped him up. Other than that, I don't know. I do like Justin. I think he was a good player as well. He was another one that came in. It's just like where they found him. But I
There's
think
a
with that
play.
squad, they'd come back straight back up. I'd have no worries with them coming straight
Oh,
back
I
up.
think a lot of them
Even
would
if they
would.
lost a Tielemans and
That's the one I was waiting for
Maddison.
you to mention. Available on a free transfer.
He always looks overweight to me, does Tielemans. He always looks like he's
Is that fair, Aaron?
Yeah, it's funny Dan says that because a few of the fans have commented on that. Not not
Okay.
particularly not particularly this season, but he had a bit of a period where he was struggling for form, and he did look a bit overweight, I must say. But then he had a great season after that, and he has been great. Um, but yeah, he's lost his way a little bit this season. But his head and his heart's not there, is he? I mean, he's been angling for a move for the last 18 months or so out of the club, and then you look at the game against Fulham, and he's captain. So where's the sense in
Oh,
that?
he was
You know?
captain over Vardy at Fulham.
Yeah, yeah,
Really? I didn't know
yeah.
that.
He was. Yeah, shocking.
Who's the club captain, mate?
Johnny Evans is club captain, but obviously he's never available. So he gets passed around a little. Obviously, Maddison's been captain a few games this season. Yeah, it's you've got a player at the centre of the pitch there who, I mean, he got dragged against Fulham and he had a poor game. It's just self-preservation for him
I
now, isn't
think
it? He's
he's a
looking to do for
super
the summer.
talented player, but he's not shown anybody this season.
No,
And I think of the regression we've discussed in the past, Aaron, of that Wilfred and Diddy is staggering the way it's progressed.
it's sad to see,
Um,
really. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Tielemans has obviously suffered injuries in fairness as well. And I'm sure he'll get picked up by someone who'll really want him and probably improve. That's taken me aback a bit, Aaron. I'm really surprised to
yeah,
hear that. I was arguably going to ask you if he wants taking out the team because he might not be committed at the moment.
yeah. I probably would take him out of the team. Yeah, but then, I mean, who have you got? I mean, you've got Ndidi, who's clearly he looks like he's finished at the top level.
I just think like young boy Keenan Dewsbury Hall, for example, would come through the club. He'll know what it means right now and stuff. It's a good
Well,
footballer, mate.
I mean, why he didn't play against Fulham, I'll never know. You're playing the likes of Samari and there he's not good enough. He's just not. He goes from looking an absolute world beater to car crash in the space of 2 minutes. So yeah, you've got to start getting players like Dewsbury Hall in the team because at least he's got some fighting in there, hasn't he? He'll die for the shirt. He loves the club. He's a Leicester boy. It needs to be done now, So
I wonder if they can get Johnny Evans out, if you might go for a back five on Monday.
yeah, possibly. We probably need a back 10, to be honest.
How have you been feeling
And we
about
still won't
Vard?
keep the clean sheet.
How have you been feeling about Vardy's form? He's looked a bit sharper since he's come back in recently.
Yeah, he has. He has, and we've needed him, haven't we? I mean, we've been calling for what seems like forever on this podcast about Kelechi getting in the team, and then he finally gets in the team and he's injured. But Vardy, yeah, he's looked sharp. But if you're relying on, with all due respect to Jamie, he's been absolutely incredible for us, hasn't he? But if you're relying on him at 36 to drag us out of this, it's a sad state of affairs, really. Because arguably at points this season he's been third choice, hasn't he? So
It seemed like the penny had finally dropped with Iheanacho. Finally.
yeah,
Twice over. Rodgers stuck him in. He was scoring goals. Then he missed the chances at Southampton and then at Manchester United. And then he was back out the team. Then it seemed like the penny dropped and he starts getting returns and like you beat Wolves and stuff. He assisted the goal injured, the assist at Leeds. Such a shame that he got injured. It'd be a big boost if he was back available, wouldn't it?
massive, absolutely massive. To the point where I think we could get some out of the game if he plays. I think he's that important to us, to be honest. I don't think he'd be fit.
I'm going to give you some hope. Dan, are Leicester a bogey team to you? Do you think?
I don't. I don't. Can't remember the recent past. In the past, I always had an impression of that. We always seem to lose to Leicester, and Vardy always used to seem to score against us. In the recent past, you're going to tell me now that we probably do, but I don't remember the results of the last couple of years.
Well, the last two at the King Power since the Trent evening, Leicester have won both. There was the 3-1 victory. You'll remember once I remind you, Dan, of the comical Ozan Kabak incident with Alisson, where you were 1-0 up behind closed doors season. Harvey Barnes got a late goal as well, and Leicester won 3-1. And there was the game last year when Salah missed the penalty, which was a big deal in FPL, and Leicester won 1-0. Do you remember who played centre back for you that night, Aaron?
Oh, it wasn't anyone particularly good because I remember looking at I remember looking at our backline and thinking we are in serious trouble tonight. And Luke Thomas was left back. I know
That's
that, but
correct, yeah.
and indeed.
Yes, and did he played centre back, yeah. And a player I've been quite critical of over the years, but you've defended as quite a solid when he comes in. He's done all right for you and been dependable.
Was it Amati?
Daniel Amati.
Oh,
Samari
God.
played. Keenan Dewsbury Hall scored the goal. Hamza Chowdhury started, Aaron.
What's happened to him? Where did he disappear to?
Watford on loan.
All right.
A lot of people disappear at Watford, and they're normally managers, mate. And Maddison, Vardy, and Iheanacho played. You were broken from injuries. You remember we had about 11 out.
Yeah, I do.
And you won 1-0.
It was a miracle. Yeah. And the desire and that match, yeah, it was such a roller coaster, but I mean, we have to find something like that on the weekend. Well, it's Monday, isn't it? But yeah, I can't see it.
Aaron, no one was predicting Everton to win at Brighton. Never mind, get 5, mate.
Can I just pick up on that, James? I'm just looking now. Now you mentioned it.
All right, I've mentioned Everton. Everton don't win many.
No. The 1-0. The 1-0.
Yeah.
Leicester, 1 shot on target.
Yeah, we know.
Liverpool had 21 shots. They had 4 on target. They've had 5 big chances and missed 5 big chances.
What's your point?
Miracle.
It wasn't cut and dry 1-0. I don't know.
No, I know that, but as Aaron said, they probably need some sort of miracle like that, isn't it? Where something just crazy happens. You maintain the firepower, though, Aaron. I agree with that. You'll score Monday night, I think.
Yeah, I would. I think so.
Would we all agree that get down the bookies, both teams will score probably?
Yeah, both teams will score. Liverpool to win.
Go on in, Aaron. Do us close us out with a correct score prediction, mate.
4-3 to Liverpool.
I don't think that's ridiculous, Dan.
No,
I was going to say 4-2 Liverpool.
Just to be different, I'll go 3-2. I was 3-2 or 4-2 in my mind to Liverpool. Look, you'll need to make it a hostile environment and a very fast game. I think, Aaron, treat it like a cup quarter final, and they've got to turn up and be under par. But Dan knows they'll give you chances. Even like Brentford and Fulham, the last couple would have been clean sheets, still give up chances. How you give up the amount of chances to my team, Dan, in that game the other week? Ridiculous. Yeah. It's not all fixed. I think that the midfield area and some of the stuff on the ball has certainly been helped with Trent going inside. It's not the 2 clean sheets doesn't blind me to think that it's all fixed defensively all of a sudden at all, mate. I don't think they're out the running for top 4. I do think you'll win your 3 games, Dan. And then it'll be relying on someone else to slip up. And you've been in this position before a few years ago where you win like 8 of the last 9 or something and ended up nicking it at the end, didn't you? So the squad's got experience of that. Do you think, Dan, before we let you go, do you think you'll spend big this summer? Obviously, the Bellingham stuff, so I guess it's off the table now.
Depends what your class is big this day and age. I think we'll probably spend between 150 million-ish, something like that.
I'll leave that to fans of richer clubs than us to decide if that's expensive or not.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the problem. I feel a little bit bad when I come on these podcasts sometimes, and I'm a bit spoiled, aren't I, as a Liverpool fan?
You have been.
I'm talking to Aaron and stuff like that, and they're fighting for relegation, and last time it was Forest, and I think the time before that it was Southampton, and we take it for granted how lucky we are that we're never in them kind of positions to be like avoiding relegation, really, and the kind of turmoil that other fans have to go through. We're sulking that we don't get in the top 4 or whatever, but actually it could be a hell of a lot worse. So
you could be a Chelsea fan, mate.
Yeah, as well.
You could be a Tottenham fan. It's very well said, actually. It's third world problems, but I think every football fan can only deal with the problems of their own club. But every time I moan about Tottenham, I think of what's happened to clubs like Bury and stuff, and you think, I've just got no right to moan, right? I'm blessed to have what I have every week. And I would say, Aaron, I think I genuinely mean this, if the worst did happen, I'd really think you'd come straight back up. I think you'd make a lot of money in terms of player sales, and people like Dewsbury Hall would thrive in the Championship, I think, mate.
Absolutely.
Really would. There's every chance you'd hold on to, say, a Daka, and you'd become your regular forward next year and score 25, 30 goals in that league, I think. So, I think you'd come back up. I think the owners have probably been a bit blinded by investing in certain things. Like I know there's intention to increase the ground size. They've put a load of money into the training ground as well. And you've obviously said they've been hit with their other companies and stuff, but you ain't going to be in the financial trouble like Dan's rivals will be if they go down.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
In a word, Aaron, do you think you'll stay up?
No.
Dan, do you think they will?
My head says no, my heart says yes. I'd like Leicester to stay up. I know they get bad prep from Liverpool in general, but from Liverpool fans. But I like Leicester. I think they're a decent side.
I agree with what you said near the start, Aaron. I think you probably got to win Monday.
Yeah.
If you do, I think you stay up.
Yeah.
If you don't, then I don't think you will probably. Aaron, where can everyone follow you on the bird at, mate?
At Aaron Lagor.
Good stuff, mate. Good luck, my friend. And Dan, yourself?
FPL _ Lord.
Brilliant. Thank you both so much. Good luck for the rest of the season. It's Friday. There will be a not the deadline stream, but a little bit later today on YouTube. Plan is 5:30ish UK time. But as we're pre-recording this on Wednesday night, I'm not absolutely certain of that. But it will be communicated across our channels nearer the time. Just leaves me to say thank you again so much to Aaron and to Dan. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please, man. Show.